Welcome to another episode of Your Technologically Inept Foods Teacher, Mrs. K, here to teach you today about the double stuffed potato. So something joyous about today's lab here during this pandemic called COVID-19, which we all wish would end ASAP. Mrs. Strada has been diligently preparing every single person in this class, 28 people, a plate that looks like this so that you can actually eat your food today, as we are not allowed to share tools or food items. So everybody's going to make their own potato, but what the trick is going to be is that we all need to use the microwave. Now, I'm going to show you how to micro cook your potato because it's a part of the curriculum, and because actually a microwave can cook potatoes fairly quickly. So what you'll have on your plate is milk, a little bit of sour cream. Now at home, if you don't have sour cream, you want to sub in cream cheese instead, or you'd rather use butter, you can vary things however you want. You'll have a little piece of onion there, pre-prepped for you, and some cheddar cheese. Now how you use these ingredients is absolutely up to you. I'd also add some seasonings myself, and into my mashed potato mixture, I like to put fresh dill, I like to put garlic, salt and pepper, and the rest of my family is so picky that I can't put anything else, otherwise they'll be like, Mom, I don't like this. It's too spicy, Zoshka. So I just have to do what the people want. Plus I don't really eat the potatoes. So, potato, very interesting food, grows beneath the ground. Which part of the plant does it come from? What is it?
Tuber.
It's a tuber! Good, so it's a tuber. So all of you small humans who are on your technological devices, get off of your technological devices and engage with me in this double stuffed potato recipe. Thank you. All right, so first of all, you each get your own potato. The first thing to remember is you don't just be like, okay, I'm gonna cook this potato, and you throw it in the microwave. What'll happen? Any idea? It'll explode. It'll go, you know. And while that's a fun experiment, it is not a fun experiment to clean up, and your parents probably won't be very happy with you. So the first thing that you gotta do is you gotta take your fork, and you gotta give your potato a few stabs. Of course, this is after you wash it, so I should probably show you the washing. Now we're not, like, you can eat the skin of your potato. Actually, in a potato, the nutrients are either in the skin or just below the skin. Personally, I'm not eating the skin of my potatoes, so you just want to wash it. You want to make sure any bacteria is removed, and then you want to stab it. Make sure your hands are clearly not in the way when you give your potato a stab. You want to stab it maybe 8 or 10 times in different places. Now this just, because the potato has so much moisture inside, you got to give steam a place to go. So by stabbing it, we're venting. We're giving it a vent. So I micro-cooked my potatoes here for about 4 to 5 minutes each. I might come and give you guys a plate or something, or even put it inside of a little dish, just because they tend to expel some liquids and we don't want to make a mess in the microwave, okay? So that's what you do. So I've already done it. I just wanted to demo for you how to stab the potato, make sure that it's clean. Then you put it on a plate or a microwave-safe dish, put it in the microwave. You're looking at 3 to 5 minutes, depending on the power of your microwave. Now, just a few things about microwaves. We're gonna be cooking this on a power level of 10. So typically, the highest power level is 10. So you push time cook, 3 or 4 minutes, and start. That's it, very, very easy. So what am I looking at in terms of my potato being done? Now this potato is cool, so that's why I can handle it. Your potato, when it comes out, is gonna be very hot, and likely you'll need to let it cool a little before you handle it. What we're looking at is I can take my fork, and I can easily go through the potato without pushing, and there's no crunchiness happening, okay? And typically with things like apples, potatoes, and harder vegetables, that's what we're looking for. Can a fork pierce through without a lot of pressure? Make sense? Do we follow so far? All right, so if you're using a microwave to defrost something, that's a very different thing. So typically your power level we would describe as 10 as the high power, and most people are like, I'm gonna defrost this meat, and they just throw the meat in the microwave, and then they put time cook, 10 minutes, and then you notice that the outside of that meat is cooked. But what you should actually do is you should use the defrost function or your power function. So if you have a button, which you should have on your microwave at home that says defrost, you should push power defrost, and however, sometimes the microwave asks you how many pounds you have. So this might be like 2 potatoes together might be, 1 pound of food. And if it's double the amount, maybe 2 pounds of food. And then the microwave automatically figures out for you how long that will be. But the thing is, it only works at 30% power on defrost. So you can actually change the power level. So you could be power level 3, which is 30%, and for however long you want. So you can set the power level. But what you need to know is high power is 10, and defrosting power is about 30%. Okay, so go power level 3 or 30%, and then that'll defrost foods, just so you guys know. Now, so Mrs. K's already got her potatoes out here. You guys are each gonna have a masher. If you don't have a potato masher at home, or you don't have, like, I might not have one for every kid, but you have, you know, a pastry blender, you could use it interchangeably. Just see what you have in your kitchen, because so many things can mash potatoes. My husband is very particular about his potatoes, and he says that a mashed potato is a very Canadian thing, or a whipped potato. You know how you take your hand mixer and you whip them so they're light and fluffy? He's like, what is this, baby food? Because he's used to eating like whole potatoes. They don't really do mashed potatoes in Poland, so whatever. All right, so it tells me that I'm gonna saute my onion. Now, first things first, I just wanted to give you some tips about onions. Now, this, the back of the onion, I wonder if I have a whole onion. Okay. I wanna show you how to cut an onion, okay? So, this is a chunk of an onion. You gotta figure out which is the front, which is the back. All right, so this is the front of the onion. It's kind of got a nose, and the back of the onion is what I call the hairy belly button, right? You'll see it, it kind of looks hairy. We cut through the hairy belly button. That's the first thing that we do with an onion. If it's a round vegetable, your hand wants to be up. You never put your fingers down like this. That's how you cut your fingers off. And you press through the onion, okay? We cut it into 2 pieces. Earlier in the class, I was talking to you guys about how to try to make yourself not cry as much. Luckily, we're all gonna have masks, so I bet that we'll cry a lot less because you're not gonna breathe in those juices. But if we actually go to post-COVID times, just keep your mouth shut when you're cutting onions, and you will tend to cry less. That's why some people are like, put a matchstick between your teeth. No, but really, what are you doing when you're doing that? You keep your mouth closed because your teeth have to hold the matchstick there. All right, so I cut off the front, but I keep the hairy belly button intact. The hairy belly button keeps all the layers of the onion, just like Mrs. K, a woman with many layers to her personality. Okay, so then I'm gonna peel off the outermost layer. You peel it off. If you half your onion first, it's certainly a lot easier to peel than trying to peel an onion whole, okay? All right. So now I've got my onion on my cutting board. You wanna keep the hairy belly button intact because as I do my dice, I'm gonna actually heat up my frying pan here. So I've got a little dollop of butter in there. I'm gonna saute my onion in butter. So all my layers are held together like this. So what I do is I don't cut all the way through to the very back. I make tiny, thin little strips down my onion, slowly walking my hands down to the back. Okay, so now I've got all these thin strips, but are they falling apart? No, they're held intact by the hairy belly button. Yes? Okay, so from here, we're going to actually dice our onion. So this is my cutting claw. Now with your cutting claw, you want to either have your thumb behind your fingers or touching your pointer finger to make sure that it's not creeping forward. The thumb is the finger that is most often cut, so just keep an eye on it. The idea is not to move fast, but to move accurately, slowly, and to leave my class with all of the appendages you came with. Okay? So we're just gonna slowly cut down the onion. I wanted to show you on a whole onion because it's very difficult to visualize when I'm only using a small piece of an onion. Now if I was doing a soup or something, I just totally use all of this because I would make a mirepoix. A mirepoix is simply dice carrot, celery, and onion that you would use to make most soup stocks. Okay, and then I've got my butter heating over there. Now, in a second here, I'm gonna put that in, but my butter is not warm enough. So I'm gonna move this over here until I saute those onions. When you cook an onion in a frying pan or you saute an onion, how do we know our onion is done cooking? Talk to me.
Golden brown and delicious.
No, an onion should be clear. Good try though, Dax. Thanks for trying that out. onions should be translucent. That's how you know when they're done cooking. When an onion starts to go dark brown, or garlic especially starts to go brown, the flavor changes and creates a bitter flavor. So we want our onions to be clear. All right, so before you guys came, Mrs. K came this morning and started to micro cook 2 potatoes because I want to show you 2 different methods here. I have to get my bowl. So I've got a bowl here. The first method is, have you guys ever been to the K? So I just used my spoon to basically skim off to make a circle in the top of my potato. Oh, Miss K really cooked these potatoes. Cooked them like twice. So maybe do 4 minutes. Okay. The skin is kind of tough, so we're using a russet potato. Russet potato tends to have less moisture, so we want all this potatoy goodness to scrape into our potato mashing bowl, right? Because the more potato you save, the more potato you eat. All right? If you were gonna live on something and you didn't have a lot of money, like for example, when you guys go to university, you go to post-secondary, you move somewhere else, your parents aren't paying the way, which many kids are in that scenario, and you're like, I don't have money for meat this week. What food can you buy and survive off of for a very long period of time? A potato. The potato is the food of choice. It's the cheapest thing you can buy. It's filled with carbohydrates. It also has a ton of vitamin C. Potatoes are great for you to survive off of. So you want to carefully, using a spoon of some kind in your kitchen, scrape out the interior of your potato until it's hollow. Now be careful that you don't scrape out too much because you do need some structure holding onto the outside of the skin. So as you can see, she's hollow, yeah? Okay, so that's way number 1. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna mash up my potato, and with all of the business, I'm gonna stuff it back in here. I'm gonna put a little bit of cheddar cheese on top, put it back in the oven and melt the cheese. The whole potato is safe to eat, okay? So that's one way. The other way that you could do it, Mrs. Strada's like, this is not the way that you do things. You don't cut it in half. So I said, Mrs. Strada, we can do it anyway. There's so many different ways to do things that, yeah, I'm gonna demo it that way too. Yeah. 3 minutes? I have 3 minutes. YouTube has a thing for me where they don't like me going over time. So I'm gonna finish seasoning up these potatoes. I'm gonna restuff them, bake them in the oven, and then I'm gonna attach a tiny little video to this one showing you what my products turned out like. All right, so TBA, I'll see you in 3. Okay, so Mrs. K is back here. So I've got my potatoes mashed. I put my milk, my sour cream, I put some green onion, salt, pepper, seasonings of choice, and now I'm gonna restuff my potatoes. So now you take your delicious stuffing mixture for your potato. So this is good for like a backyard barbecue, as long as you're social distancing at 2 meters on a lawn chair that's been sanitized 14 times. Funny joke, right guys? Come on. Mrs. K is so funny. That's true, you should sanitize. And, you know, only canned beverages, no punch bowls. I want to keep you guys all safe. So I've got the kind of the deep stuffed potato, and then I've got what I call the canoe stuffed potato, where you cut it in half, empty it out. We've got 1/2 of the canoe, and then we've got the other half. Like my kids, I mean, I'm not big on potatoes, and if I was gonna eat one, I'd probably only eat half a potato. Russet potatoes can get pretty big, but they're perfect for baker's potatoes because they have that nice rough skin. But they are a potato that actually has less of a moisture content than, let's say, a yellow or a red, or even a blue. Have you guys ever seen a blue potato? Potatoes, potatoes! So, I mean, in a lot of countries like Poland, I keep talking about Poland because I've been there a lot of times, but in Eastern Europe, I mean, they survive on potatoes because it's the cheapest thing, and potatoes grow anywhere, right? It's cheap and easy to get. Okay, and then I would finish with some beautiful cheddar cheese, or whatever your cheese of liking is, and then I might pop these using this oven-safe dish into my oven just until the cheese melts. Throw a few green onions on there for color, and then voila, a la baked potato. Until next time.